What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Wizards Latest. I'm your host, Ben Robertson. And first off, guys, thanks for tuning in here every single weekday. We are back rolling again here this week, Monday through Friday. Hit those like and subscribe buttons while you're watching along. Don't forget to drop your comments down below as well. As you can see, I'm on the go here this week, but still rolling, still dropping episodes, and let's hop right in here today. We've talked a lot about possible coaching options for next season. If it's no longer Brian Keefe, he doesn't come back, or maybe he gets the boot over the summer. And the Wizards have just lost a candidate. You guys probably heard Mike Malone is going to be headed down to UNC. He's going to be joining up with the Tar Heels down in Chapel Hill. Sorry, Hubert Davis. Shout out Lake Braddock High School down there in Nova. Of course, I guess maybe sorry to Lake Braddock High School here. Hubert Davis, the alum. I've been talking about really Mike Malone for a few weeks. I think I've been kind of spearheading the campaign. Frankly, if the Wizards again do move on from Brian Keefe, would definitely be interested in the former, NBA champion. We haven't really heard anything on that front, to be quite honest. Really, I feel like we haven't heard much in terms of Brian Keefe, what his future is going to look like at this point, at least. And we definitely didn't really hear anything actually material about Mike Malone and maybe any connections. And here is probably why. Obviously, he's headed down again to UNC. And I think it's just kind of, interesting. Sometimes you have a wish list, right, as fans. Again, I've been talking about, Mike Malone. Hey, he's out there on the market for the last few weeks. And, sometimes that just doesn't always, actually pan out in reality. I'll throw another name that, again, if the Wizards are looking at future coaching options or making a coaching change, that I might put on my wish list here as well. And we'll see. Again, there's really no reports to this, just kind of a name I'm throwing out. And I would actually probably monitor here if I were you guys. That's going to be Dave Bliss in OKC. I mentioned his name last week when we were talking about coaching options just a little bit. One of the top assistants down there. I also just think with Winger, Dawkins, OKC connections, could very much see them kind of looking to one of their old homes. And then I also could kind of buy the idea that, maybe the Mike Malones of the world, the Taylor Jenkins, the Terry Stotts aren't really what this front office is maybe interested in. Maybe actually a first-time head coach. I don't want to say that a guy that they can control, but maybe they just feel like is more of their guy, isn't kind of coming in with kind of an already established pedigree, which also brings an already established ego a little bit some of the time as well. So I could see if maybe they're more interested in, a first-time candidate. Dave Bliss is going to be a name I'll throw out there. One of the top assistants down in OKC. I think he coached actually in the All-Star game format a couple seasons ago. And then also right now, it just feels like OKC is kind of the, the gold standard in the NBA of how to build a basketball team and build a franchise. Now, I want to kind of quickly reference something I talked about yesterday. Well, we were chatting yesterday about Will Riley and what he's been able to do, back-to-back 30-point games over this weekend. Now, I want to talk about another first-round pick here, another rookie we have on the roster, obviously a higher drafted first-round pick, and that's Trey Johnson. It seems like he's hit a bit of a rookie wall here this season. Let me know if you guys kind of agree with that. It felt like a really great start here in year one in the NBA. For Trey, over the month of March, the numbers looked like this: 11.2 points per game, just over 3 rebounds, about an assist and a half, and was only shooting 36% from the floor. The 3-point numbers took a dive as well, which is obviously kind of his calling card. I'm not saying that's the only thing he can do, but we know that's how he's going to make a lot of his money in the NBA. Only 31% from three over the month of March. Still averaging double figures, but it was just a lot of tough shooting nights, to be quite honest. I mean, you look at these stretches. I mean, it's 3 for 13, 5 for 12, 3 for 12, 5 for 11, 5 for 11, 5 for 12. That's the last 5, 6, 7 maybe games there. I can't do any math of the month of March. And then we've also seen him, I believe, questionable on tonight's injury report for tonight's matchup against the Bulls. And we've kind of just seen him do that, be in and out of the lineup here down, kind of this back half of the season. And I guess my question for you guys is this. Is this more of, again, what I said before, just a rookie wall, just him kind of, as we've seen maybe Will Riley take off, and he wasn't maybe doing that over the first couple months of the year. Now we've kind of seen it go the other way a little bit with Trey Johnson. Is this just typical rookie inconsistencies? Or is this more maybe indicative of a larger, maybe bigger picture problem with just this season as a whole? And that is, when you're trying to be bad and you're trying not to win games, that's just not optimal for young player rookie development. And I think we have seen that. I would say with a couple other names, maybe not rookies, but I think we've certainly seen that, and I think a case can be made for that this year. Again, I look at Alex Sarr, year 2. We got off to this awesome, really hot start. We were all going, man, he's really committed to playing inside out. Just loved what we were seeing from Alex Sarr over the first half of the year, and now I'm not saying the injuries aren't real, but it just feels like he's been intentionally handcuffed. He's barely ever playing here over the last couple of months. And maybe the team's already seen enough from Alex Sarr. They say, yeah, we love this guy. He's going to be great moving forward. And he is. It doesn't change that either. But wouldn't it be better if he was on the court on a nightly basis, right? And actually getting those reps and getting those minutes every night. I think another guy I'll throw out there, injury has played a part of Bilal's season, absolutely. But we haven't seen the year 3 step that we were hoping for from a Bilal Coulibaly. And again, I'll ask you, is that a product of, Bilal dealing with injury, not being able to get, in a rhythm, being a little bit in and out of the lineup? Or is that a product of when you're tanking and not trying to win games? Again, it's not optimal for player development. Now, referenced the Bulls matchup already here today. Just came across a tweet as well, again, right before this episode, kind of like yesterday, actually. Greg Finberg clarifying that the Wizards can clinch a bottom 4 record and guarantee a top 8 protected pick if one of the following happens tonight. And one of those things is quite simply a Wizards loss against Chicago. Also, a Kings win would do it, and a Jazz win as well. So, Wizards going into this game having that in their minds, not taking any chances. There's a whole roster full of guys once again on that injury report. I took a quick look over at Chicago as well. I'm not really sure if I don't think they're tanking. I think they're just not very good. I don't know. Maybe you guys have some more insight there on me, but it looks like about 3 of their 5 starters are out. I would kind of expect to see a heavy dose of Trey Jones here in this game, mostly just because he had 29 last time out, and I don't know. I'm just kind of looking again at their depth chart. I'm not really seeing where a whole bunch of offense is maybe going to get created. So yeah, Trey Jones would kind of be my guy from Chicago to keep your eyes on for this Wizards matchup here tonight. But again, Wizards can clinch that bottom 4 record, top 8 protected pick or hold on to their pick here with a loss tonight. So kind of maybe a final close to really one of the final steps to this year-long tank job from the team. Let me know if you've already seen that game, if you're watching along this evening or even tomorrow morning before the next episode of Wizards Latest comes out. Let me know how that game went, and let's quickly hop into the comment section before we wrap things up today. First off, I didn't mention this at the top. I meant to. Imagine you guys all enjoyed the national championship game last night. UConn looked like final couple minutes there, they were going to have some more drama, and Michigan was able to hold them off. Congrats to Dusty May and co. He seems like a pretty good guy. And again, there was a couple moments where UConn just couldn't find. I think they had a big steal and just couldn't come up with a bucket when they really, really needed to. But again, an entertaining game and kind of an entertaining close to what's been, I think, a really fun college basketball season, kind of a resurgence in the college basketball world. I realize there's, we talk NIL, transfer portal. There's obviously a new age of college athletics, but this year, I mean, college basketball, I think, has been as strong as it's been in a long, long time. And we're going to get really into these draft prospects, as with this offseason coming up and with the draft coming up as well. We're really going to start talking about those guys a whole bunch here on the page. Kind of cracks me up. Jeremiah World Peace, he says that game, I believe you're talking about over the weekend, had him a nervous wreck. And it's not because he was trying to hold on to the win. It's kind of the actual opposite. I believe you're talking about that Brooklyn matchup, which was really just a tank fest game. Wizards, again, I think we're down 4 with 90 seconds left in that matchup. That was the whole Brian Keefe not talking in the huddle. Got a lot of debate, yada, yada. Sadiq's world, I got to agree with you here. And you say, I don't think BK will be the head coach next year, but the Wizards are tanking for a better roster. And, should he be penalized for that? And I guess it's kind of the issue you have when you look at the coaching situation this year. It's what I said yesterday when you talk about that moment of, I realize he calls a timeout. I realize it was 90 seconds left in the game. You're kind of supposed to draw something up or give, at least just be saying something in the huddle when your team goes back out onto the court. But again, the assignment this year is to lose games. We're celebrating the loss against Brooklyn, celebrating again. We're celebrate holding on to the draft pick this year, and so it puts the team, the coach, everybody just in a really brutal spot. And I do think you've seen some of the effects wear off on the players a little bit here this year. And then I think it's going to be an interesting spot for Brian Keefe because, I mean, again, Will Dawkins has to go, hey, do I know enough to evaluate this guy? Or is that just not even, maybe they, again, I've thrown this out as well before. Maybe Will Dawkins, Brian Keefe knowing each other already, kind of at an understanding of what these few years are going to be. Hey, Brian, we'll give you a little bump in salary. You get to be the head coach. You get to work with these young guys, which is really what he does love to do. We hear all about his player development in the NBA. But maybe he really doesn't want to be the head guy, on a team that's actually contending and really trying to compete as well. I'm not really sure. I'll kind of close out my point here on Brian Keefe. I'm not I actually think, in a weird way, him just not saying anything in the huddle and not trying to draw something up and get a playoff and actually maybe trying to pull out a win at some of the ends of these games is actually more of a sign that he will be back than he wouldn't be back. Because I think if he knew he was gone, he would just be, again, trying to come up with, something that doesn't make him look like an awful coach at the end of games. And I think the fact that he's kind of, again, accepted the assignment is more telling of him being a good soldier than it would be the other way around. Mark Gregg talking about Juju or Vuk sees neither of them as a long-term solution. I thought there was another comment as well about, maybe that was the only one, about Juju and Tristan Vucevic. I know we were talking about them a little bit last week. I'm with you. Neither of them have proved maybe they're the long-term backup big man, but both of them I think have. Especially, I would honestly say Juju Reese, even more than Tristan Vucevic. I realize Vuk is probably maybe a more skilled, more talented player when you just look at him. But again, I want my backup big, my backup front court man, to do a lot of the dirty work. Go grab me boards. Go play me tough, gritty defense at both ends of the court. Again, when you're backing up AD and Alex Sarr next year, who are going to be, I mean, legit star NBA big men, I don't need you to go score me 20 points per game. I'd much rather you give me, 5, 6 points a night, and then maybe actually be able to go grab me 10 boards at any given time off the bench than just being kind of like a really good offensive player that just can't stop a soul on defense and just doesn't really guard the rim at all. And that is kind of how I view Tristan Vucevic. I'm sorry to disrespect him there. And Frank White, you're done with Brian Keefe. He says fire him soon. All right. I'll respond, to Dre Dilla. And again, I'll just mention, I think I mentioned the name Dave Bliss earlier in the video. That would be a name. No reports there, but I would monitor moving forward with the Wizards. Again, one of the top OKC assistants, coaching the All-Star game a couple of years ago. And just maybe that avenue of coach as well. I'd keep your eyes on first-time head coaches, but seem like they've been kind of knocking at the door of a head coaching job. Maybe they're with a really successful team as is already. But that's going to wrap up our show here today. I appreciate all your support here on the page. Remember, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to drop your comments as well. And thanks for watching another episode of Wizards Latest.